the next thing I knew, I was just flying through this space, these stars, and they were all different colors, and they were like parting, and I was flying through them. So yeah, I was flying along, and the biggest thing was, how in the world did I forget who I really was? How was this such a complete illusion? It was such a wonderful trick. All of a sudden, right in front of me were these three little hooded guys, and they were like giggling munchkins, and they had these big smiles on their face, and they're about 3 or 4 foot tall, and their job is to maintain order. I think there's something coming, and there's going to be a lot of confusion, and narrative's going to change soon, and people are going to start looking for answers. And I'll just close with this. It's nothing but good news.
I interviewed Bill Letson at the perfect time. He shared his profound near-death experience with me and then shared with me a new message for humanity about the future. I hope you enjoy.
What led to it was I was working as a fireman down in Santa Barbara, and there was a flu epidemic that was sweeping the whole West. And it was if you look it up, it's the Beijing flu. We ran on this lady, and I got exposed. And within 2 days, I was super sick, and like I've never been before. And I got really dehydrated, had trouble with my vital signs, and I knew I was going circling the drain quick. So I called my family, and I ended up in the hospital, in an ambulance in the hospital, and I got a mixture of medication that didn't go well, and that's not unusual at all. It was taken off the market like shortly after my whole thing, because it was just wiping people out. But yeah, I got that injected into an IV port. They were trying to fill me back up with water, and I keeled over. And that's the last thing. It was 3:30 in the afternoon. That's the last thing I remember was being in the room thinking I could go home pretty soon. And then I was keeled over, and my wife said that they couldn't get a blood pressure. The highest she heard was 40/0. And they came in and they loaded me up with Narcan, like 3 different doses to reduce the effects of the Nubane. They couldn't get me back, and they sent me up to intensive care. So anyway, I'm up in intensive care, and the next thing I knew, I was just flying through this space, these stars, and they were all different colors, and they were like parting, and I was flying through them, and it was the most amazing. I always chuckle. It was the most amazing feeling, because it was like, this was all like a big joke or a big game that I was playing, and I was back to this incredibly euphoric being, and it felt like I'd been released from a cramped space. I always say a hot, dark, cramped closet. It felt like it was like I was back to being me, and I was this huge expanded cloud of awareness, and I was flying through all these orbs, these colored stars, and I was home. There was nothing lacking there. It was absolutely just this standing wave of euphoria. And I guess I'll say it this time. I've always said it. It was like a cosmic orgasm, and it just didn't stop. It was, if people knew, that is our real vibe, that is our real home. We come here to be separate, and to be singles, and to be cut off from all of that bliss, and then to find our way back through love, through our choices in these lives. And that's a real story. It's not a feel-good thing. That's really what's going on with us. So yeah, I was flying along, and the biggest thing was, how in the world did I forget who I really was? How was this such a complete illusion? It was such a wonderful trick that I was this guy, and I had all these, what we all have. Yeah, all had these doubts and fears and likes and dislikes, and all of that was it was just a really well done game. And so as I flew along some more, and I was like, this is awesome. I could do this forever. What a relief. That was so rough down there. And then I landed. I landed in a place that was more solid. It was a room. And I've always said, I've just recently started questioning why I say certain things, but I've always said every single time that it was indirect lighting. It was a room full of indirect lighting. And there's a couple of other NDEers that talk about the lighting and that they were looking for the lighting appliances but you're in the light. Everything is made of light. And so I was in this room, and all of a sudden, right in front of me were these three little hooded guys, and they were like giggling munchkins, and they had these big smiles on their face. They're about 3 or 4 foot tall, and they were right in front of me, and they were playful, and they were happy to see me, and they were asking me questions like, how was it? What did you learn, and what can you tell us? And they were really interested in that, in my experience, and I was pretty shocked. I was just looking at them. I wasn't afraid, and I wasn't any other emotions like that. Those emotions didn't exist anymore. I was just curious, like, well, where am I now? And they were really amused by that. They were giggling. One of them kind of bounced forward and looked me over really closely, and then he turned to the other two and said, he doesn't remember us. They thought that was hilarious. They were all giggling, and they were sweethearts. They were competent, and they were happy, and they were joyful, and they were playful. I've used the word mischievous. They were playful. There's no downside to anything, and that's how they behaved. In the background, there was this tall, wispy guy, and he kind of came forward, and the little guys, they looked exactly like those 3 little guys in the movie Communion, and they behaved exactly like munchkins in the Wizard of Oz. How they come forward, and they got that little sort of snazzy look to their, the Lollipop Guild. They got this kind of playful, mischievous look to them with a little snarl on their face, but not really a snarl, but kind of a playful laugh, grin.
I love hearing about that. Sorry, Bill, if I could just jump in quickly. I do want to jump a bit forward and then come back, but when you returned, a medium contacted you and told you more about these beings and their role in the afterlife. Can you tell me what they told you?
Yeah, she said, I was going down to do this interview in Hollywood, and my phone rang. The mediums are fun people because they pop in and out because they're picking up on stuff. And she goes, hi, I'm the so-and-so, and what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm on my way to LA. And she goes, well, I live in LA. What are you going to, I go, I'm going to do this interview, and then I'll be done about 11. And okay, we're going to meet. And so we went to lunch, and she goes, I got a bunch of questions because you're talking about things that I see all the time, and you're the only one doing it. She goes, you really are important to me. And I said, okay, I'll answer any question you want, but you tell me, who are the little guys? So I asked this just for you, Lauren. And this was a year or two ago. And she said, well, they are of this place, and they are of the other place. And their job is to maintain order. In our many lives, we get a certain essence about us, a quality of goodness, of kindness, of sweetness. This is what this is what we want to do. We want to improve on all that. And when we leave this life, when we come out, we have a vibration that will put us in a certain dimension. And their job is to make sure that we end up in the dimension that we've earned or that we are currently, vibrating at. And, you know, in the movie Ghost, you see these three little hooded guys. They come out when the villain is killed. They come out of nowhere and they drag him off to hell, seemingly. And that's exactly what she was saying. They're keeping order with where we go in the afterlife.
Thank you for sharing that. I was so excited to hear about those beings because another person I interviewed, Virginia Drake, spoke about them too. So I was just like, oh my gosh, I know these, I know these. So, but I didn't know that context. All right, can you take me back to as you were meeting them and I believe you described him as a tall, wispy leader came.
Okay, I'll go to him. But one other thing that is really fun is that there is a 1700, a Christian painting, 1700s, and it's called Ascension. And it shows all of these people, leaving the earth, and they're going up a ladder or stairway. And then these little beings are grabbing them and pulling them off the stairway at where they belong in the afterlife. For me, that just jumped off. It's like, what these guys are describing exactly what we're faced with. And then there's this other thing, these giant carved heads, they're all over the world. Nobody knows where they came from. They're Asia and in Mexico, and they're called the Olmecs or something like that, is the famous one in Mexico. And the faces of those giant heads is exactly what we're talking about here. The same little guys that look like the guys in communion. I think there's something coming, and there's going to be a lot of confusion, and people are going to look for answers. And it's going to sound strange now, but it won't be long, a year, maybe two, to where people are going to look for answers, because science and religion and history, nothing's going to work anymore for us, and we're going to have to restart. And it's all good news. It's all super good news. So, okay, you wanted me to go to the wispy guy, and
Yes, please.
so he came forward, and there's a movie called, it's with Robin Williams, and Come What May, something like that. And it's about, he dies and he goes to the afterlife. When he first meets this guy played by Cuba Gooding, he's this kind of wispy, spinning guy. Have you ever watched that movie? That's exactly what I saw. Exactly what I saw. This wispy, spinning guy that kind of separates, and then he pops from one place to another. And I've called him, I've tried so hard all the years, but I've called him a tall, wispy guy, and like he was a trimmed up Gumby, because he's like this spinning energy. And you'll see it in that movie. And that same medium, I asked her about that, and she said that you met some higher version of yourself, higher self or soul. And I go, so what's all the spinning thing about? And she said that your higher you, sends a energetic sliver of themselves for this, to have this meeting or this reunion or whatever. But it fits, absolutely fits. So as he came forward, he had this huge smile on his face, and it was weird. It was like he was underwater. Parts of him would separate, and then they would catch up again. Everything was spinning. And as he got close to me, it's like when you watch a movie and you're in the theater and you're trying to hold it together, and it's some heartwarming thing. And it was just like that. My throat was closing, and my heart area, my chest was swelling. I remember thinking, I need to hold it together, because I felt like I was going to be overwhelmed with love. Like I was going to drop to my knees and start crying uncontrollably, like a mother does when she watches her 5-year-old head off to kindergarten. There's just too much love. It's you're gonna burst. And that's what he was about. He came forward, and he was, every time I said something, he just chuckled. He just thought I was adorable. And everything was fun and light. And at one point, I was looking around and everybody's just giggling and he's chuckling. And the little guys are just bouncing around and bumping into each other. And it was just a completely joyful existence. Nothing hard, nothing demanding, no. And so I was watching all this and I thought, well, I'd like to get out of this facility because I'd just been in this limitless place. So I said, you guys want to, do this review thing? You want to, flash my life before my eyes or whatever we're supposed to do? You guys want to get started? And the tall, wispy guy just cracked up. He was just thought that was hysterical. And he said, sure, let's do that. How do you want to start? So I told some stories and, I was just filling space, I think, and thinking, okay, we check this box and I can split. And then as I rambled for a while and nobody was listening. They weren't interested. They didn't care. They kept doing the same thing. This was just sort of a thing where I was going to go through these steps and have this ridiculous story and then share it. I'm absolutely convinced that that's what this has all been about. And there's hundreds of people like me, all these NDEers, they've all got a piece of the puzzle, as John Davis recently said. We're all a bunch of ordinary folks, nobodies, and we all got a piece of the puzzle. And, researchers like you guys put the pieces together, you've got an amazing story about who we are and what we're doing here. Yeah, so I talked for a while, and then he just stepped forward and he said, okay, that's good. Time to go back. And that just blew my mind. I was like, what? I had, I had forgotten about Bill. It was like, it was a dream, and I wasn't really interested in even remembering any of it. And I was just happy to be unburdened by it. And I was like, dude, I cannot go back there. Are you kidding me? He said, oh, you got to go back. You got things to do and they're important. He came forward and he goes, all right, that's good. Now you're going back. The room just started to come apart. Everything just sort of started scattering and coming apart. And I think a lot of things in sci-fi movies and stuff, I think they're telling us who we really are. Again, these are all puzzle pieces. And if you put them all together, got a story of what's really going on here. So, and it was a descending feeling, like the floor dropped out, and it was a drop in frequency, a drop in vibration. And all of your listeners have woke up feeling like they're falling. They're falling back into bed, and they've been soul traveling in their sleep, and then it's time to come back, and you got to drop back down into this low frequency. And they weren't actually falling. It was a drop in frequency, like fallen angels. Fallen angels are angels that have taken on a lower frequency and are here on Earth or near the Earth plane or something like that. This is what I believe. So I was back in my body and I was slowly waking up. I had all this equipment on me, and then a nurse came by, and I wanted answers. I wasn't, overly ticked off, but I was not happy. And I told this nurse I had died. Bill was done. I had bought the farm. How did I get back here? And she was cool. And she looked me right in the eye. She was holding me down, sort of. And she goes, honey, you've been in escrow, but you fell out of escrow, and now you're back. Referring to that bought the farm thing. And she says, you need to get your head around that. And that was really lucky for me because, more NDEers you talk to, it's really hard to come back, and they ask why. What did I do wrong that I have to be back here? And she grounded me right then and there. I never forgot what she said, and it was back to reality. And this is the way it is, and this is your path, and you got to honor it. And so yeah, that's the best thing anybody could ever do for someone who has a similar experience is just let them know that they're back. You got something to complete, and then you get to go home.
That's a just amazing experience, and thank you for sharing. So you started this interview, you said that you've done like 100 interviews, but something's changing and you want to flip the story around. And you wrote earlier that it won't be much longer before the veil drops for a large percentage of mankind. What have you been seeing happening in the world right now?
The big thing with ancient knowledge, ancient wisdom, is that the world is a school. It has a 24,000 year cycle. It's called the precession of the equinox. And we have this really long golden age at the top, and then little shorter silver ages and bronze age. And then at the bottom, there's this iron age. And it's like a circular thing. And it circulates forever. That is the nature of this place. And at the bottom, there's this short little run. It's 2,000 years old and 2,000 years long, and it's called the Iron Age or Dark Age. And we have just completed that. It was March of just this last March, where it was actually the Kali Yuga, this Iron Age, had ended officially. And I remember a year before, I was at one of these ancient knowledge conferences, and I've gone to them for several years because the shamanic sort of connection, and I always listened to them. And there's always they'd have like 15 presenters, and there'd be one or two that was like, okay, this guy knows what's happening, and or this female or whatever. They would have this genuine, authentic knowing, and most of it's book sales and that kind of stuff, performers. But there are some good people out there. They're all good people, but there are some really legit, helpful. And so the last one I went to was a year and a half ago, and you get there early, and it's a 3 or 4 day thing, and you're going through the chow line, you're getting coffee, and the word in that line was, the time for secrets has ended. The veil is coming down. And I never heard anybody talk like that. But it was across the board, and a couple of guys that I rubbed shoulders with a little bit, and I said, "Hey, what's going on? Everyone, this is going through the back, in the back corridors, everyone's talking about this. This time has changed." And he said, "The time of secrets is gone." He said, "Spread the word." And it's like, wow. And within a couple of weeks, I noticed all these sites came up on YouTube, things like the Library of Thoth, and Wise Quotes, and all these sites, and they're talking about ancient knowledge, Hermeticism, Gnosticism, all these things that fit. They all tell a story of what we really are and what we're doing here.
I love that idea, like the time for secrets is over. What does that mean for just a regular person watching these videos?
Well, right after that, like I said, all these podcasts came on, these YouTube channels came on. They all came online within a few weeks. And that is like ancient knowledge. It's like, if you've heard of things like mystery schools, um, this is online mystery school stuff, and people can watch it and get a lot of peace and comfort that everything's okay, um, because the news is, we're going to be at war soon, and all this stuff's going to be going on, and um, you can tune it out, and you can just tune into the good news, and that this information is coming forward, and um, a lot of these celestial things, these cosmic occurrences, they happened in the last year, and they were, for somebody like me. I've got this. I mean, this real Kundalini thing. It's like a paralyzing condition. So yeah, all these energies things were happening, and I was at a party, and somebody asked me. They go, "So what's going on with the crazy?" And I said, "Well, I got this. All these cosmic energies are happening. These double blood moon things. I don't understand any of it, but um, I started getting these noticeable vibrations. They're in the middle of my face, and um, a lot of people are contacting me and saying, I've got energy shooting out of my fingers. It's coming in these frequencies. And so, yeah, the veil is lifted, and we're turning the page, and we are becoming, our frequency is rising to all, the whole world is, the frequency is rising, and things are changing. And people have the opportunity with these online mystery schools. You have an opportunity to go with it, to ride the wave, and get our diet figured out, and the way we meditation and being close to nature, and your life can just really take off if you go that way. But if you go the other way, with violence and alcohol and American lifestyle, mainstream American lifestyle, you're going. It's going to get more and more chaotic, and because the frequencies don't match, but you can rise with the coming rising frequency. You can, everybody can keep pace with it.
Yeah. Why do you think this is happening now? Is it because of that 2400-year cycle that's coming to a close that you were mentioning, or is there something else?
Yeah, it's 24,000 years, but these are just incredible periods of time. I mean, chunks of time, and so yeah, that Kali Yuga, that dark age has ended, and all the kind of energies associated with it aren't welcome anymore. And so the energy of the planet, the frequency of the planet is rising. We call it global warming or climate change. Fires, wildfires, forest fires burn out of control. This is the frequency is rising. Everything is moving faster, and we're moving faster. You can just go out on the freeway. People are irritated, and but like I said, you can go the other way. You can keep pace with it and not freak completely out, which is, that's going to be part of the world. It's the to answer your question, it is the natural cycle of things. This is a simulation. It's a stage. It's an organic simulation. It's light coming into this realm and coalescing into form. And if you go all the way down to the atoms, that's just spinning light. And underneath that light is thoughts, our thoughts. And we're we are creators, and we are creating here in the physical, and we can create beauty and kindness and good, or we can create something else.
I love that message. I think one thing I love about your story is that you stress about all the love that we will experience and that things are going to be okay. That was reassuring to me. I feel like there's been so many difficult things in the news and everything that makes it so hard to be optimistic. How are you so, how are you able to reassure people so well?
Well, I kind of told you, when they said you have to go back, you have things to do and they're important. Um, I really think I'm an early arrival of what human beings are going to develop into. Just these super happy, helpful, kind. And when I was younger, when I was your age, nobody would have associated those words with me, especially my wife. Um, but this is this is something that really does happen. I like I said with that blue zone, I got back to. I've always been in nature, but I really got back to nature, and I only eat vibrant food that's vibrating from the sun. Um, and I drink structured water, water that's fallen from the sky and moved along the magnetic Mother Earth, and it's bathed in sunlight. I did not. That is not our water, and we're 99% water by molecular count, and water is some sort of multidimensional being, and we move in. Water is connected to everything, and so we have to drink that structured water and get ourselves aligned to the vibration of the sun, and put our feet on magnetic Mother Earth, and eat fresh, vibrant, living, growing things, and then you just keep pace with what's going on, and uh, your outlook, your mood, um, it just takes off. That's what if you're seeing that in me, that's what it is. I don't have a nasty side to me anymore. Um, I don't want to ever harm anyone, even if they're harming my family or me, because I know that we are all these eternal energetic beings, and we're here in this play. And sometimes we get confused, and it's all about learning. And it's like I'm not participating in the downside anymore. I'm not trying to.
Yeah. You've talked about how Earth is a simulation, a school. Can you tell me more about how that works and why we come here?
We come here for experience, because direct knowing experience is the best teacher. So we have these thousands of lives, and we, over time, sometimes we have to come back and back and back for the same lesson. Maybe it's jealousy, and maybe it's anger or whatever. But we learn to choose the higher vibration. But yeah, it's a simulation, and the information is coming in. The Pleiades is a big thing that people are looking at, and the Egyptians were looking at it. The NASA's looking. Everyone's talking about these gravitational waves that are coming from the Pleiades, and we've always known this. I think the best thing, because this is years ago, my wife was having trouble with things I was saying, and stuff like that. And I asked for, I went to bed one night and I asked for help. I said, "Can you guys help me with this?" And I woke up in the morning and I said, Aurora Borealis. I just said it. It came out of my mouth. And I said, what the heck? I said it again. And so I went and found her and I said, what do you know about Aurora Borealis? It's some tourist thing, right? And she goes, oh no, that's something that's really cool. It's up in the Arctic Circle and it's these northern lights and she goes, I've always wanted to go. And I said, you did? And she says, yeah. And I said, well, I think we ought to go. And so like 2 weeks later, we were on dog sleds at the Arctic Circle, chasing the aurora with these guys. And we got underneath it and the whole sky opened up. It was, and the reason I bring this up is because a lot of people are looking for, how can I believe this crazy guy, Bill Letson? They're looking for something. They want an experience. And the Aurora Borealis is right there. You know, if you got a couple bucks to throw away, go and get underneath that. Because my wife changed instantly. I get emotional. The sky just opened up from horizon to horizon. And every light you can imagine poured down on us. And she was speechless. I was like losing it. And she was speechless. And I looked over at her and you lay flat in the snow because you can't take it all in. You have to lay flat. And she had these frozen tears coming down. And I said, you okay? And she looked at me, she goes, what is that? And I said, that's God. That is what we come from. And, you know, those lights are coming, that energy, light codes, is coming in and organizing the stage. And we're all playing in it. I remember, and she said, you know, you're supposed to go back at like 1 a.m. or you go out there, you go out all night. And we're supposed to go out like 1 a.m. or something like that, go back. And she goes, tell him we want to stay. And so I went and found the guy and he's just some kid. And he goes, did you see that, man? And I go, yeah, how could you miss it? Yes, I saw that. And he goes, I've been up here for years trying to figure out what it is. And he goes, I can't leave. So it's a if you open yourself up to the possibilities, you can go and look right into the divine with the Aurora Borealis. And just to bring this full circle, that you know, they say, Edgar Cayce said that when the aurora is visible at the equator is when the big earth changes are going to be happening. And you know, if you watch the news, it's coming right down. You know, you can see it in the northern states now, and sometimes even in California they say to look for it. And so it's on the move. And you know, people want to know what's the timeline here. That's the timeline.
Wow, that is crazy. I know in my city, it's not completely crazy to see it, but we've been seeing it a lot more, like from the city. And yeah, my family in California, I'm hearing about people in really random cities seeing it. So that's really interesting. I didn't hear about that from Edgar Cayce.
Yeah. And that goes, you know, hand in hand with this rising frequency, this more solar radiation coming into the earth plane. You know, fires are burning hotter and global warming, all these things, they're all telling us that the frequency is going up, and you can watch it like a thermometer. You can watch the aurora move towards the equator.
That's so interesting. We're kind of getting towards the end of our time here, but Bill, is there anything else you think is important for our viewers to know?
I've said some crazy things today, and I appreciate you taking this one step beyond, because it's gonna, you're gonna be one of the first, but the narrative's gonna change soon, and people are going to start looking for answers. And I'll just close with this. It's nothing but good news. It's all good news. It may not seem like it to us, but our bodies are changing. We've gone from organic-based cells. This is what happened this last year. We're going into these silica, crystalline-based cells, so that we hold more light in our bodies. And this is why people are vibrating. And then eventually we move to golden age, where we are just light. We're all light, and it's heaven on earth. And we're just on our way there. That's all.
That's beautiful. That's why I kind of wanted to grow this channel. It's to share stories of positivity and light and hope. And I love how much yours exemplifies that. If people do want to get in touch with you or learn more about your story, is there a best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I'm bletson56@gmail.
Amazing. Okay, well, thank you so much, Bill. I really, really appreciate your time and all the positivity you're sharing in the world.
You're welcome. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you so much to Bill Letson, and thank you, as always, for watching this video. On September 6th, 2025, I will be interviewing Peter Alessandria on Livestream. Peter is a documentarian and NDE researcher, and I can't wait for you to meet him. I'll put all the information in the video description, but for now, it would be amazing if you could comment questions you would like me to ask him on the live stream. And remember to subscribe to our channel for more videos about near-death experiences. Bye.